I am Erin Patten, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings, I am Erin Patten, also known as Master L, and welcome to the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. I am actually live today, and I am so excited to be here with you real time. I see my friends already in the room. People are coming in the room, and I really appreciate you all being here. I'm live on YouTube, live on Facebook, live on Instagram, live on LinkedIn. And if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and to my social media handle at I am Erin Patten. And if you feel so called, definitely share this with a friend, like it, leave a comment. I appreciate it. And as we get into today's topic, I was really inspired by my work, of course, in the corporate space. And as we're seeing in the world today, it's quite obvious, like generations are aging, millennials are getting older. Even the New York Times brought up an article around millennials kind of reaching like middle age or the beginnings of middle age, and Gen Zers are like full on in the workplace. And a lot of leaders, particularly senior leaders, executive leaders, are baby boomers and aging out. They're moving on to their, second, third, fourth careers. And a lot of these executive opportunities, these leadership opportunities are becoming available for us, for millennials and Gen Zers. And of course, the differences in generations are very stark, and that to say the least. And so a lot of leadership as they're transitioning are really, I would say, anxious or uncertain. Let's just leave it at that. Uncertain around how this grand generational shift is going to happen. And I want to spend some time today decoding the leadership qualities, the potential for millennial and Gen Z leaders. Because I've been doing a lot of research on my own end as I'm building my brand. I'm shifting from doing more client facing work to now moving out into the keynote speaking world, motivational speaking, inspirational speaking. So stay tuned for some more information on that because it's coming very soon. And as I'm looking at the landscape of inspirational leaders, motivational leaders, in general and specifically in business, what I'm finding, which has been astounding in terms of data, is that majority of the population that's tuning in to these top speakers across different categories are between the ages of 24 and 35. With oftentimes the second most being the 18 to sort of 24, 25 category. So we are really seeing 18 to 35-year-olds, majority are tuning in to inspirational, motivational speaking, whether it's in business and spirituality and technology. And that blew my mind because I just knew, like, when I when I started my company, I was really focused on, kind of the older millennials and beyond. So essentially 35 and up. And it's exact opposite in terms of who is really tuning in to all that is evolving on the sort of leading edge in our world. And it makes sense because as our consciousness is shifting, as our attentions are changing, people are really craving authenticity. People are really craving truth. People are really craving real shit. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of the cookie cutter, leave it to beaver, packaged goods type of mentality is really, it's gone. Let's put it that way. It's gone. And, we're holding on, we're grasping to this ways of operating, these old ways of being, purely out of fear. And I'll just name it that because when we're not really opening up ourselves to change and to new ideas and to new thinking, it really is deeply rooted in insecurity. And so when we're thinking about what it means to decode the millennial generation, the Gen Z generation, it's about removing that fear, removing that insecurity, and understanding that at the baseline, all is going to be more than good. Okay. And that the what we're seeing in terms of behavioral changes, like let's just put it out there, people call like millennials and Gen Zs call us lazy, call us, we have quick attention spans. We can't pay attention. We're the ADD generation, over sexualized generation, ratchet generation. I could go on and on with all the negative qualities that have been attributed to millennials and Gen Zers. And in my view, all of these are making up of our superpowers. When we look at that lazy aspect, well, of course, they're going to see that because we're wanting to get shit done quicker. That's why the AI tools are so powerful, because they can do things like help us compose different work things or think about things differently. Of course, not do it for us, but these are tools that really allow us to maybe do our laundry, drive our cars, like autonomous things, wash our dishes. I mean, come on now. Like, we really want to be utilizing technology to do things for us so that we can actually enjoy our lives. And that's what wealth is. And that's what my whole meta business world ethos is about, is redefining, expanding our view of wealthy lives. Why would we want to spend our weekends, our Sundays, washing clothes, doing laundry, doing dishes, cleaning our house if we can automate that? And that doesn't, to me, strike me at all as lazy. It strikes me as working smarter instead of harder. And that essentially is one of the biggest differences, I feel like, between the older generations and sort of the newer millennial Gen Z generations, is around working smarter and not harder. I've, I've seen articles and memes about what they call secret vacationing. I can't remember what publication published this, but they were talking about millennials who are not taking their paid time off because they're working on vacation. I'm really trying not to laugh. I can't help but laugh because this is just, what's wrong with that? Like, actually, that's a beautiful opportunity to be able to work, contribute to a company, and still also be in a beautiful location and enjoying your life. But thinking from that perspective of like going to the office every day, showing up for your manager, showing up for these meetings, it really is, it's like dumbfounding to managers, to senior leaders, that people would secret vacation and work while they are in another destination. I'm really about to crack up on this. Because this is essentially the future. We absolutely can continue to collaborate and co-create and work together anywhere in the world. And I can honestly speak from experience in this, because I have my team. I'm a small team of four, and one of my team members is based in Nicaragua. My other team member is based in Canada, and my other team member goes between Boston and Singapore. Okay, and is native to India. So I am very much, I mean, for me to be like, I don't want to work with these people because they're in a different country right now, makes no sense. And so we really have to think logically through, when we're decoding the millennial generation and decoding the Gen Z generation, the behavioral shifts actually enhance in many ways our performance. When people are happier, when people are healthier, they are able to give more. You can't give from an empty cup. You can't pour from an empty cup. And as much as people say that, and they listen to it in church and it feels good, practice it. Okay? Practice it. And I want that to be your challenge for this week. I want you to pour more into your cup this week than pouring out. Can you try that this week? I really want you to pour more into your cup this week instead of pouring out. And what does that look like for you? That is a challenge, I'm sure, because you're so used to giving to people, you're so used to doing for your job, that you're like, oh, wow, what would fill me up right now? Okay. And sometimes the first thing we think is, oh, I make myself some good food, some yummy food, or, I have a nice glass of wine. But beyond the food and the drinks, what more can fill your cup? Is it, going for a swim? Is it going to the beach? Is it going out into the woods? Is it, watching your favorite documentary that really inspires you, or your favorite motivational speaker who really gives you some inspiration? And what would fill your cup more and more every single day is really what this millennial Gen Z population is all about. And they call it selfish, getting to one of the other, attributes that we're kind of negative attributes, that we're more selfish and all we care about is ourselves. And in many ways, that's a amazing thing. It couldn't be a better thing than for us to actually be selfish and care about ourselves, because the more we're seeing ourselves, the more we're seeing our faults and our amazingness and our goodness, then the more authentically and the more in truth we can show up for you. And honestly know that this can be a challenge in the workplace, because actually this is what harmed me the most when I went through my corporate training and corporate life, is that I was just unapologetically real. And it really ruffled people's feathers. It made people uncomfortable. And needless to say, I might not have had enough suave around it. I might not have had enough of flow with the realness. And I feel like that's something that I'm mastering now, because it's just part of me, y'all. Y'all gonna get the truth from me all day, every day. And so I want to be able to deliver that truth with softness and with sweetness and with love and with compassion. And if there's anything to essentially criticize the millennials and Gen Zers on, is it's that piece. Because when you get the real from us. And you see it in hip hop, you see it in culture, you see it in music, with the tattoos and the piercings and the fluidity of sexuality and the word play and the word use. It's in your face real. And that's something, as a generation, I feel like, in terms of the decoding, that is part of us, inherent in us. And that actually is our superpower. And what we're doing as we're healing our generations, the millennials and Gen Zers, is softening that aspect of ourselves. And not softening and maybe effeminizing it. No, because it's not necessarily, we want to all be like sassy with it. However, we want to be compassionate with it. And that goes for man and for woman. You don't have to be just a woman to be soft in your delivery. And that's something too that I believe is part of the wounded masculine narrative in general, is that the masculine has to be hard hitting. You got to go down. You got to be, you know what I'm saying? Just like, and trust me, I was like that big time. I went to Harvard Business School. We had to speak up in class to get our grades. You know what I'm saying? We had to raise our hands really high and really hard and fast for to be seen. And going like this, was not going to get you called upon. And so, really acknowledging that, hey, sometimes I can go like this, like, excuse me, I have something to say, and it be a truth, and it be authentic, and it be real, and it be helpful, especially for an organization, for a team, for a project, for a family dilemma, is important. Okay. So don't be afraid to be that real, authentic truth self, with a little bit of compassion to it, with a little bit of kindness to it. And, there was a saying that I grew up with when I remember in elementary school, our principal would always say, kill them with kindness. And I got to keep going with it, even though I don't really like to say kill them and those kind of words. But I mean, if you're kind and it kills them, then maybe, I mean, that's on them, So you really want to be able to stay in your center, stay in your being, and offer your truth with kindness. And trust me, your karma, your path is all the way good. And this is really targeted to millennials and Gen Zers who are really struggling in workplaces to be able to speak truth and call things out and make corrections without being slammed, without feeling like you're throwing somebody under the bus, without feeling like you're undermining your manager. There has to be ways of communicating um, tensions. And this is something that we practice a lot in holacracy. And I'm going to continue to be an advocate for holacracy. It's a structural, it's actually just a whole different way of looking at how to structure an organization. And it's spelled HOLACRACY, holacracy. You can Google it. And I'm doing coaching right now, holacracy. I went through training before, but essentially it advocates for self management. So everyone, even in my organization, they have their roles, I have their responsibilities that supersede me, even though I'm the chief enlightened officer, the CEO, and the boss lady, whatever, how you want to call it. These people still have roles and responsibilities that matter outside of me and that I in many ways defer to because I'm dependent on them to get these things done. So it really holds everybody in the organization accountable, no matter what your title, no matter what your compensation package. And that's very different from how we've operated in the past in business. Very hierarchical, very power over, as opposed to power with. Okay. And I'm going to say that again because this is something too that I'm learning in my motherhood journey and, consciously disciplining my own son in that how we grew up, many millennials and Gen Zers, and especially baby boomers, we have grown up dominant control. And that's called power over. When you are slapping someone or hitting someone or punishing someone, that is a power over technique. And essentially, what we're moving into in this new age, in the future of work, the future of leadership, the future of business is power with. And the difference between power over and power with is that we are not controlling people. We are not parenting people. We are not dominating people to get shit done. When you are operating in a power with model, you are working together, you are understanding, you are communicating clearly what needs to happen, knowing whose role belongs to who, which responsibilities belong to who, so that we can powerfully move together, move with, power with. And so these are the differences in terms of like when we're working with millennials and we're working with Gen Zers, you can't dominate this. You can't dominate us. You can't control us. You got to work with us. And that's essentially what we're seeing around the world. And, I always say I don't like to get into geopolitical issues, and I'm not. But when we're seeing violence, when we're seeing corruption, when we're seeing massive abuses on a massive scales, that is a quintessential power over technique. And it's played and it's immature and it's juvenile. And it doesn't speak to a conscious being who is intelligent and creative and leading edge. Like, what benefit, I mean, as a conscious being, what fulfillment do I have in murdering people? What fulfillment do I have in sabotaging someone? What fulfillment is there for me in making other people suffer and then seeing other people suffer? There is no goodness in my heart, in my being, in doing those things. Yet, this is how business has been conducted for millennia. This is how governments have sustained. Okay, people. So, when we're thinking about the future and decoding the millennial generation, decoding the Gen Z population, this is not a sustainable way of operating. We just not built like that. So we need to understand how to reprogram our beings, how to reprogram our behaviors around operating together, operating, like kumbaya style, the things that we used to get made fun of and being hippy dippy is actually the future. And, going into one of the other categorized criticisms for millennials or Gen Zers, we talked about being lazy and, the PTO and traveling. And we talked too about, the beingness of truth and authenticity and being able to speak that with more softness and compassion, and that not necessarily just being a feminine quality, but being, for man and for woman. I mean, it obviously comes from the feminine energy, but it doesn't necessarily belong only to the woman. The man can definitely abide by some of these principles as well and be very successful. And, I would say a third piece that really helps to kind of decode the millennials and the Gen Zers is our radical, I would just say our radical expression. Put it that way. So, in that truth and that authenticity of speech, there is also a truth and authenticity of being and of looking. And my first job, my first corporate job in New York City, I had blonde, natural hair. And like even like now, I have on like a little crop top, and I was told that my hair was inappropriate for the work environment and it violated company policies. Okay. And this is a part of my work experience that really wounded me deeply. And I ended up starting a whole hair product around it and had a whole story and blah, 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 that it's still kind of rolling with me today in terms of my identity and really uplifting that identity for myself and for my friends and family and the people who I speak to. And this radical expression. Come on now, look at my braids today. Look at like my little crop top today. Like it's part of our being. And the suit and tie, especially like in business, is not it's not sustainable for the future. And it's sad because I went to and this is a not necessarily a dig, but it's just an acknowledgement that I do a lot of work with the Macomb School of Business, the school that I went to for my undergraduate degree at University of Texas. And still today in 2024, like networking events, students are required to wear like these very conservative suits and as they're interviewing for consulting jobs. And it's nothing could be more fake. You know what I'm saying? Like looking like little waiters and waitresses and even and I understand in some establishments a uniformity and even, my son wears a uniform to daycare. Like, I understand the uniformity aspect, and that can be maybe a conversation for another day. However, we must be able to become accepting of millennials and Gen Zers in their expression, whether it's their hair, their teeth, the tattoos, the jewelry, the clothes. This is essentially a part of our individuality and in our sovereignty and our ability to just be who we are and be accepted for that, just like the they, them, he, her, she, she, whatever it is, it needs to be accepted. And I feel like that part is something that is going to maybe take a little bit of time because there is so much. I mean, but even in like the Googles and the Apples, you see that Mark Zuckerberg with always the t-shirt and the khakis and the other tech founders always with their tees. And then the t-shirt and khakis has become like a uniform. And so to do anything outside of that, like wearing a frilly dress or heels, like now people call me Elle Woods, like from Legally Blonde, because I love to wear pink and be feminine and really be in my feminine being while doing very masculine work things. And that is completely acceptable and that should be completely acceptable. And so I really want to call out for older generations or senior leaders that are really struggling with, if they are struggling with the look and the feel of people. Like even me, I have tattoos and I would be very considered very radical in a traditional corporate workspace. And that's okay. However, that's just not sustainable because you're losing out on very talented people who are likely very creative, very artistic, leading edge thinkers. You're losing out on the opportunity for your own expression. I mean, maybe you want to wear a Hawaiian shirt one day or some hoochie daddy shorts. Like who knows what is on your heart, but you are limiting yourself as well and limiting others. And so I'm sure people are like, Erin, what are you talking about? But these things are real things in workplaces. Dress codes, how you present yourself, how you look. It's very controversial. And I would love to continue this conversation if you all have thoughts around, this idea of what looks professional, like even nails, down to your nails. And I get, and people know I have colorful nails all the time. And this likely wouldn't be accepted if I were working at a traditional bank or something like this. And so I really want us to continue to expand our consciousness and expand our awareness around these very refined nuances in business, in our business culture, that actually block our potential. And this is essentially the work of the meta business world. It's unlocking our productivity potential. And our productivity potential is often hidden behind these very nuanced ways of being and operating. Who would have thought that, oh, by allowing my staff to dress how they want to dress and wear their hair the way they want to wear it, or their nails the way they want to wear it, can enhance my profitability. Oh, yeah, and I'm speaking truth here. Oh, who would have known that by allowing my team members to travel and still, if they're able to still dial into their meetings, or give them time to visit their family, I actually can develop a closer trust and a better rapport, that maybe they'll stick with me for some years, or work harder on this particular project when it comes online, because I looked out for them this time. That's unlocking hidden potential. And this essentially is what the underlying premise of the meta business world work embodies, is calling out these very, what, like, refined. Now we're getting to really refined details, because you already are doing the work. You already are showing up for your services. You already have your products. But why am I not able to grow? Well, these are the hidden aspects of your business. You got to dig in the dirt a little bit to allow those roots to go deeper, so that your organization can thrive even more. And when you allow those roots to grow deeper, it's in these nuanced things. Okay, allowing more conversations, more open conversations, where tensions can be resolved in a holocratic way, where people can really come to the table and tell me, okay, Jim, like, I noticed this and this, that, and can we do something about it? Well, let me have a look at it, you know, versus shutting people down because they don't have the authority, they don't have the title. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in that position where I wasn't on a certain level. So what I said actually just didn't matter. And so that's essentially, damaging your bottom line. And people are like, well, Erin, you're really like a triple bottom line person, and you're looking at all these different things. Well, yes and no. The bottom line is the bottom line. And if treating people well gets you a bigger bottom line, then call it what you want. Call it triple, quadruple, whatever, 5D. It is what it is. The end of the day, we're wanting to have more profitable businesses, more successful businesses, more sustainable businesses. And the way to do that is by really opening yourself up and allowing your awareness to be impacted, so that you can see people for who they are, and not just their age, or their ethnic background, or their socioeconomic background. That shit is old. It's old, and it's limiting. And it's limiting. And when you limit yourself, you limit your people, you limit them dollars. And that's what we don't want. And so, I'm getting to the end of my conversation here, and I'm so grateful for all my friends that came in here and are leaving comments and giving me thumbs up. I really appreciate y'all, because this one was one of a very impromptu topic. Like I said, it was brought to my attention around millennials and Gen Zers and how to decode their presence in the workplace. And I just feel like, wow, like, I didn't even realize I had that much to say about it. But come on now, I'm a millennial. I done been through it. And I really can see how the organizational landscape can really benefit from us being in our truth. And if there's nothing else that you take away from this episode, be in your truth, stay in your power. Okay. So if you haven't already, definitely like this video, share it with a friend, follow me at I am Erin Patten. Also, my website, erinpatten.com, has links to resources, free resources, my meta business avatar quiz, Also, you can find out information about booking me to be a speaker and coming into your organization and unlocking incredible potential for you and your organization. And in the meantime, I love you all so much. I thank you all so much for being here. And until then, I'll see you next week. Peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatten.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.